Welcome to the Highway 360. Today I'm going to demonstrate how to override and overload the default constructor. Also, I'm going to show you how to use the member function to retrieve the attributes from the objects. From the last video, I have demonstrated how to create a simple object with only attributes and no methods. Also create a table using the object type as the data type. Today I'm going to expand this object to including the member function, procedures, and the overriding constructor. Now, to override or overload the default constructor, you must specify the function as a constructor, and the name of the constructor must be the same as the object type. Now, the difference between overriding and overloading is overriding must have the same number of parameters as the attributes. Overloading doesn't have to be the same. Okay, now in this case, both constructor return self as result. What it means is that it returning this instance of the object as the result. I'm going to show you a bit further later on the procedure and function. Let me try to recreate this object type. Now, if I'm going to run this, remember that we created object from the last video, which also have the table depending on the object. So if I try to recompile this object type, it will give me an error complaining about the dependency. Let's give it a go. Okay, you see that? So before you recompile it, best is to drop the table first, then compile it. Okay, it's compiled. Then you create the table. Okay, let's look at the body. You can see that you have to specify the replace type body. It's a little bit like the package. You got the specification, you got the body, so it's very similar. Okay, this is how you override the default constructor. The name here for the parameters, you can name it anything else. You can name it like A, B, C, D if you like. So this is just to demonstrate, because I got the name same as the attributes. For easy identifications, you put a self here, and in Java it will mean dist. So this object, the attribute employee ID, will be using the parameter employee ID. And because I'm overriding the constructor, default constructor, I can do anything I like in here. So in this case, I add a random number to it. Okay. Now to overload, here I change the name, and you can still refer to it. It's just like the other one, but now you can tell straight away which is which. And also the self dot, you don't need to explicitly specify it. You don't have to, but if you do it, there's no harm. It just make it easier for you to read, or anyone going to maintain the code. If they're not familiar with the name, then it's easier for them to identify. Then I got this function here, or procedure, sorry, just to output the attributes to the screen. Again, I mix around with it. You don't need to put a self dot. You can do it without. Now the function. The function is a little bit like the procedure, except it said return the string, the varchar2. Okay. Now let's create this body. Let's create it. Now let's try to run it now. Okay. This is a very similar examples to the video we had from the last video. So let's see what happened. Okay, it will give you the attributes based on here what we put down. I have omitted the employee ID, but it still shows it to you in terms of the rest of the attributes. Let's do it one more time. This time I'm calling the overload default constructor. And you can see that because I only specified in 3 attributes, I missed out 2. Although we're not printing out the employee ID, but I missed out the department. You can see that in here, the department is just gone blank. Okay, if you want to see the body, this is the overloading one. I only assigned the 3 variables passing into it. Okay, now as I explained it from my last video, where you can insert into the table with 2 methods. So I'm going to do this again. And remember that if I run a select statement, tab, and if I just run this statement, you can see that it will only show you the schema and the object. It doesn't give you the attributes. To return the attributes, you need to call the member function like here. To get attributes, like this, and in fact these are attributes. Let's run it and see what happens. You can see that the employee ID, because I put in a random number over here, add the random number, so it can be anything. Okay, and then it gives you the first name, last name, the address, and the department. So that's how you retrieve the attributes from the object. Okay, so remember, when you declare the member functions or procedures, or overriding or overloading the constructor, you must define the body as well. Otherwise it will not work because it doesn't know what to do. Okay, thank you for watching.